welcome back to Hanna Worldwide and Friends, the podcast about living abroad. Thank you so much for listening again, and thank you for all the feedback I've got from you. Feel free to connect with me on Instagram under Hanna Worldwide and Friends and leave a comment if you're interested in a particular topic or if you have any questions you would like me to answer. Hi, in today's episode, please welcome with me James Elam from Alaska. He is a teacher for technology in Cambridge and has a great hobby as a photographer. You can follow him on Instagram once his page has been recovered since he just got hacked. On Facebook, or he has a website, jameselam.com. So please check it out if you are interested in landscape and nature photography. One of his main features is wearing shorts no matter what temperature it is. So welcome, James.
Hello, Hanna.
Hi, James.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being my guest today.
Well, I think it'll be fun. Let's.
Of course. So, what was the reason for leaving your country and why did you choose coming to New Zealand?
Leaving the country is easy. Let's see. Like 30 years ago, when I was at university, I did a study abroad program in Germany, in Mainz, and I decided then that I didn't want to live the rest of my life in the States, that I wanted to travel, that I wanted to see the world, that I wanted to experience new things. But on that same trip, I met a girl and fell in love and got married and had children and all of that other happy horseshit. But my marriage ended and my kids are adults and they're, both out in the world, happy, healthy, tax-paying citizens. And I decided that I wanted to follow that dream that I established a long time ago, and decided I would travel, that I would do something. I was kind of done with my teaching role in Alaska. I'd been there for 11 or so years, and I just wanted something different. I mean, it could have been the fact that my marriage ended, and that was part of the impetus, but in the end, really, it was just that I wanted to follow that dream that I had so many years ago. So, did a bunch of research, spent about 2 years looking into different places to go, and decided on New Zealand, and made the move here, and went to school, continued teaching here, picked up a hobby that I really enjoy, and not a new hobby. It just kind of, it's kind of weird. It's that I, kind of, 5 years after my marriage ended, found this freedom, this detachment from those things, and really focused on me for a change, and really was like, well, what do I want to do? And when I was a kid, this is going to ramble. When I was a kid, I got a really cool camera for a kid when I was 10 or 11 years old, and I thought it was really cool, and the pictures that I could do and what I could capture with my camera, right? And my dad was a photographer too, and then I kind of graduated up and started using my dad's 35 millimeter SLR Pentax camera with 2 lenses, so I could I could change the focal length, and I could change what could be captured by the camera, and thought that was really cool. Then I went off to university, and the whole marriage, kids thing, and kind of lost my way with photography. But as soon as like phones came out with cameras in them, I started picking it back up again. And yeah, the phones, they're not as good, but it was fun to take pictures of the kids, take pictures of what I was doing, take pictures of the mountains, take pictures of the snow, take pictures of the lakes and the animals and everything, and
the old passion came back up again.
Yeah. So I was able to kind of reconnect with that in a roundabout way. And then when I moved here to New Zealand, lockdowns started happening, and I bought good camera equipment and kind of picked that stuff back up and started really pursuing photography as an interest, not just a hobby. Not just a thing that I kind of want to do on the weekends, but it's something that I want to pursue, on a more serious level.
Yeah.
So
would you say that with having that marriage to end and kind of starting to find yourself again, and then the passion for photography came back up, that the freedom you had with the photography and going out into nature and having all this beautiful landscape played a role in the decision to come to New Zealand, since the country is like really known for its beauty in nature?
I think, well, there's a few reasons why I selected New Zealand as the place to go to. One of the reasons is, on a analytical level, New Zealand always scores in the top 10 in OECD countries for everything. They're never number one. Never number one for education. Never number one for security. Never number one for happiness. But they're never below number 10 either. And there's 60-something countries in the OECD. So, and across the board, on all the analytics, they're always in the top 10. And it's like, well, that's kind of a cool country. That's pretty good, right? I wouldn't have to learn a new language. And it's not that I'm lazy and couldn't do it. It's just that my brain's not as plastic as it used to be. I'm a little older.
25 max.
Yes, times 2. The landscape, the beauty, that was a big part of it. The socio-political arena that New Zealand plays in, I agree with. More liberal, more progressive, more labor-related than the nationalistic, authoritarian, conservative that I came from. And Alaska's an extremely conservative state in the United States. Extremely conservative. Mm-hmm. And it's an oil extraction state. That's like the main income for the state. A lot of people work in the oil industry, and it supports, a lot of the state and what the state does. But it also, it's the oil industry. It's British Petroleum. It's ConocoPhillips. It's Mobil. It's those big players, and they like to dictate to the state what they want to do.
Yeah.
But, New Zealand, it's a beautiful country. It's a beautiful place to be. I fit in well with the people here. And that's some of the main factors that caused me to select New Zealand as a place to move to when I decided, I really am done with the States. I really am wanting to move on. I want to pursue that dream of living somewhere else.
Yeah. Thank you. What do you think were, or even are, your fears of living abroad, and how did you manage to overcome? And since we already talked about it before a little bit, you kind of overcame at least one big fear already, but can you just tell us a little bit about the general fears you have or had?
fears. I mean, it really is. Superficially, a big fear for me is flying. I absolutely hate flying. If I can take a boat, ride a bike, walk, take a car, whatever it is, fine. Ride a horse, ride a llama. I don't care. I don't want to fly. I don't like flying at all. I mean, it took, for me to get to New Zealand, it was a 14-hour flight from San Francisco to Auckland.
Yeah.
And it took, legally, a fair amount of prescription medications and alcohol to keep me inebriated enough that I did not know what was going on while I was flying. The anxiety, and it's a lack of control thing. The fact that I'm in a giant aluminum tube in the sky and I have absolutely zero control.
Yeah.
I can't see where I'm going. I can't see anything other than the seat in front of me and a little, 150 by 300 millimeter window.
Yeah.
I can't see anything, and I just hate it. That actually is a big deal, and it's one of the things that will keep me in New Zealand. Like, I have an opportunity to go to Australia with a friend. Probably not going to go because I have to fly for 3 hours over the water, and I'm just not going to do it. Give me a boat. I'll take a boat for a day.
Oh, wow, yeah.
But I don't want to fly. But real deep down fears, I think, there's a fear of me not being with my kids anymore. And what's going to happen to that relationship. And what's going to happen with them, and how is that going to work? And if they get into trouble and I'm 16,000 kilometers away, how is that going to play out? Unfortunately, they live not with my ex-wife, but very near to her. Yeah. And she has their ear. And I don't want to disparage her. I'm not going to. But I will say that she likes to talk about me in very negative ways. Still, the marriage has been over for years, and she still is holding on to grudges. So the kids hear that, and, I'm not there to defend myself, and so the kids have picked up some of that stuff and are tending to believe some of that stuff. So unfortunately, I don't really speak with my kids very much anymore. That will come back around. That will, maybe it will, maybe it won't. They'll either realize that what she is saying is not true, and that I'm human, or they won't. And if they do, then we'll reconnect and we'll pick back up, and I'm not going to hold any grudges against them. I just want them to talk to me. But if they don't ever, then that's fine too. I've raised 2 happy, healthy, tax-paying citizens. They can do what they want to do. They're adults, and if they choose not to have a relationship with me, then that's what they choose. Is it a little painful to me? Sure. Is it going to rule my life and be something that I really think about all the time? No, not really. And that may sound a little cold, but I don't mean it that way. It's just I've got other things I want to do. And, And for 20 years as a father, directly with my kids, I have given up a lot. And I was a father very early, 25 when I had first kid, and 28 when the second one came along. And so that's okay. That's okay.
And I think knowing you are a very emotional person, even though it might not sound like it, but that's probably also your safe blanket, your protection mechanism, just because if you would think about it constantly, obviously it would make you sad, and it would just spiral down.
Oh, it would destroy me.
Yeah.
I would be gone. But, and it's not that I'm really protecting myself, it's that I have things I want to do. And I have goals, and I have ambitions, and I've done the parenting thing. I've raised my children, and I did a damn good job at raising my kids. You know, they're both...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're both smart. They're both capable. You know, they both have excellent careers in fields that are important. Yeah. They both... Well, one of them has a really good partner who protects her and challenges her and, you know, is a true partner.
Yeah. That's great.
The other one probably will never have a partner, and that's okay. That's just the way it goes. I mean, I don't want to say too much.
Yeah. You never know.
you never know. Maybe not. Maybe he'll meet somebody, but I kind of doubt it. So yeah, that's, you know, I'm not heartless about it, but it's.
You made your peace with it.
Yeah, I've kind of made my peace with it, and I've decided that I want to live a life that's going to benefit me now. And I know that sounds a little selfish, but, you know, I raised 2 kids, and they're damn good kids, and I feel that I was an okay father. Could I have been better? Yes. I look back at some of the things that, you know, some of the ways I handled situations in particular, or some of the ways that I was, and I'm like, yeah, I could have, you know, if I were to do it again, I would do it differently, I would do it better. But life's a one-time, non-repeatable experiment, and
yeah.
I can't go back and make any changes. But I also had my kids very early, you know. There are people out there who wait until they're mid to late 30s, 40 years old to have kids, and they have all their fun early, and then they have kids, and they do their thing as parenting and whatever. Well, I had my kids early, and now I want to have my fun.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, fear. That's what you asked about, was fears. Another big fear for me was the fact that I left the States at 49.
Yeah.
I had 16 years of teaching under my belt in the States. I had a very well-established career. I was making very good money as far as a teacher goes. The only way I could have made more money is if I went into administration, became a principal of some kind, a deputy principal, assistant principal. But I don't want to do that. That's not me. I don't want to do that. So, you know, I moved to New Zealand at 49 years old and completely started over. Then when I mean completely started over, I didn't work for 18 months. I took all of my retirement out from the state of Alaska.
Yeah.
And I moved here with it, and I lived for 18 months without making any money.
Just from your savings?
Yep, just from my savings.
Yep.
And when I got my first paycheck as a teacher in New Zealand, I was down to just a couple of $100s in my bank account.
Oh, that's impressive.
Yeah. And, you know, I didn't live an extravagant life. I didn't, you know, just frugal. But yeah, not working for 18 months. I mean, so the reason I did that is because when I came to New Zealand, even though I was 16 years a teacher in the States, when I came to New Zealand, my certification as a teacher in the States is through an alternative route. So I didn't enter teaching in the States traditionally.
Yeah.
And New Zealand doesn't recognize anything in teaching except a very traditional, you go to undergraduate, you do your teaching graduate diploma, you enter teaching route.
Yeah.
If you didn't do it that way, they don't recognize it. So when I came here, and I knew this coming here, I spent a year at the university getting a graduate diploma in teaching. some of that, I begrudge it a little bit, and that I didn't come in and get to go straight to work like somebody from South Africa or somebody from Ireland or somebody from Australia. But it also gave me a chance to immerse myself in the culture, immerse myself in the educational culture, which is vastly different from the States, and really get to know what I was doing before I had to step foot in a classroom and start teaching students.
Yeah.
Right. So I was able to get my feet under me and know where I was coming from and know what the system was like before I actually went into a classroom and started teaching kids. So
definitely had some good and bad sides to it. Some money existence kind of anxiety probably.
Well, I mean, I showed up to New Zealand, and within 2 weeks of showing up to New Zealand, half of my money was gone because I gave the university $41,000.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, to pay for my 1 year as an international student, there was no grant, there was no assistance, there was no nothing. I was just an international student who was paying full fees. So I came in and I gave over a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
And so there's a part of me that's like, why did I have to do that? But there's another part of me that was like, I'm really glad that I had to do that. Yeah. So, in the end, I'm really kind of neutral about it. I'm not upset about it, but I'm not happy about it either. It's just another step on the way of doing what I want to do.
But especially since we both have met in that time when you were at university, and I think we wouldn't necessarily have met otherwise, because I was living there in my first flat ever, and it just happened to be that your friend from uni was living next to me. Was it Matt who was living there, or was it Matt? Yeah,
it was Matt who was living next to you.
Yeah, and so just because your friend was my neighbor and it was like a housing unit where you pretty much are like door on door, that's how we kind of got to know each other, became friends. So everything has kind of a positive side. You made some really good friends you are still in contact with.
I've made some awesome friends. I mean, there's Matt, who, first day of school, sat down next to him at a table for whatever, and he was like, hey, how's it going? And I'm like, it's okay, I'm tired, I don't want to be here. But and we really hit it off and did well, and then met Amber, and she's a really good friend, and there's lots of people from that program. And then I met you, obviously, and we've been friends for 4 years, and I mean, even though there's been, we seem to get together and do stuff together a lot for a few months, and then we'll go a few months without talking to each other.
Yeah.
And then one of us will go, hey, what's going on? Let's get together. And we're like, okay. Yeah. And then we'll do stuff together for a few months, and then we won't talk to each other for a few months, and then we'll get to... But, I mean, I think that's actually a sign of a really good friendship, in that I don't have to see you every day. I don't have to talk to you every day.
Yeah.
But I know what you're doing. I know where you are. You know where I am. You know what I'm doing. And we're comfortable.
Yeah.
And so, so I've made some really good friends here, and some of the people that I work with.
Yeah.
Well, most of the people, all of the people that I work with in my faculty, I will say that much.
Very diplomatic.
I don't get out of the faculty very much. Just the way the school is set up, our faculty is off kind of at one corner, and so we have everything we need. We hang out together. We get along. I mean, technology's a little different. We all came from different parts of life, different walks of life. We were either mechanics, or we were in drinking water, or we were into advertising, or we were doing other things.
Yeah.
We were chefs before we came into teaching. We didn't, nobody on the faculty went to school, went to uni, went to grad school, became a teacher, and went back to school. None of us.
Yeah.
We all had other things that we did for either a few years or a lot of years before we came into teaching. And I think that makes our faculty really unique.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we're ruthless with each other.
I've heard stories.
Yes. The jokes are nonstop. And they're harsh. But, if any one of them called me and said, hey, I'm stuck on the side of the road, can you come help me out? I'd be in my car before I asked, where are you at?
Yeah.
And I know that it would work the other way around with all of them.
Yeah.
So, I've landed at a great school. I've landed with a great group of people professionally. Personally, I've met lots of great people. I keep using the word great. But
that's good. It's good that it's great.
It's good. Anyway, yeah, it's a great place to be.
Yeah. So, just to come back to your fears. Sorry, I don't want to be a downer. Don't want to be a downer after great and great. But having talked to you about it before, knowing that you went through some difficulties, it must have been really, really hard for you leaving the country and knowing that because of your fear of flights, it will be a one-way ticket, and leaving people behind, leaving family behind, and especially leaving your parents behind as well. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Due to some things that happened during my marriage, I had spent several years really not communicating with my family at all, my parents and my sisters. When my marriage ended, and I started talking with my parents and my sisters again. And so I spent a couple of years, speaking with them, getting to know them again, them getting to know me again, and also communicating that, I had this idea that I wanted to leave the country. And they were fully on board with it. They really wanted to support me and really wanted to make sure that, I was happy. And then as I was leaving the country, I did a whirlwind tour and stopped off and saw all sorts of people. But one of the things I did is I went and I spent 3 weeks in New Orleans, which is where all my family lives, and spent Christmas and New Year's with them, and spent a lot of time with them, and just enjoying meeting my nieces and nephews from my sisters, and seeing my sisters and their families, and seeing my parents again and talking with them and reconnecting and kind of building that up again. And it was, kind of bittersweet that I got to reconnect with my family, but I had to leave them and go even further away.
Yeah.
And my parents knew, and I knew, that even though we were going to be able to talk, and even though we would see each other through video chats and stuff like that, that I would never see them again. So
that must have been really, really hard.
Well, that wasn't so hard. It was hard, and when I got here, I truly grieved the loss of my parents and my sisters. But it was tempered with the fact that I could still talk to them.
Yeah.
But, my father passed away a few months ago, and there's not a funeral for him right then, but there will be something that happens in June, and I won't be able to go back for it. One, financially, I will not be able to do that. Two, my job won't allow me to take that much time off. It would. I could take a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. I could take that time.
Yeah.
But the way, at least my senior students in technology and the way their courses work, if I'm not there, they don't do the practical hands-on work they're supposed to do. They can't do that work with a reliever.
Yeah.
And so if I'm not there, they don't work. And that's not fair to them. And then, there's the fear of flying. That's 14 hours back to San Francisco, 5 hours from San Francisco to New Orleans. It's just too damn much. And I don't know if I can get enough Xanax from a doctor here in New Zealand to be able to support me back to, and then back to the States for a funeral in Colorado, and then
back to New Zealand.
Again. Because, while I was not completely with it, I still remember every hour of that flight from San Francisco to Auckland.
Yeah.
It was painful. It was filled with fear. It was filled with anxiety. And I can't do it. My dad, he was 84. My mother's 81.
Yeah.
But I try to stay in touch as best I can. I try to stay in touch. The relationships are still a little strained. They're still a little uncomfortable because of the many years where I didn't speak to them at all. And that's a story that I'm not going to get into. But it is what it is. It happened, and now we've just got to deal with it, pick up the pieces, move on, or not move on, whatever they want.
Yeah. When you talked about you kind of started all over again with 49, which is obviously most traveler are coming quite young overseas, deciding to start a new life. For myself, I started with...
Or just trying to start a life, not trying to start a new life. They're just trying to start life, and they're...
Yeah, exactly. For me, I already felt like I made a decision to move countries quite late with 27, but that was just a personal feeling. Yeah, you are like now,
holy shit,
old with 27. But for you,
well,
how much fear of failing was behind all of this, especially by having had such a different life back in Alaska and now starting all over again, following your dreams, and you never know how it turns out? Were you like full of hopes and full of energy, or was it all more like with fears and the fear of failure, or even both?
I think, it would kind of depend on when you're talking about. When I gave my letter of resignation to my principal in Anchorage, there was a hell of a lot of fear and a hell of a lot of doubt.
Yeah.
And not much to look forward to, because I still didn't know exactly what was going to happen, because I still hadn't heard. I had heard from the university that I'd been accepted, but I didn't know about housing. I didn't know about my visa. And I know I'm an all right guy. I've got a few speeding tickets under my belt and stuff like that, but I don't have a criminal record. You know what I mean? But still, there was that fear of, am I going to get my student visa that's going to allow me to go?
Yeah.
And I've already invested financially a significant amount. And the other thing is, I had a very unique position in my teaching role in Alaska, and there was no way I was ever going to get it back. Yeah. If I wanted to go back into teaching in Alaska, I would probably not be happy with the classrooms I would have access to, that I would be allowed to teach in, because my teaching role was very unique. But as I got closer and closer to moving to New Zealand, there was a calm that came over. I was like, oh, this is happening. I'm going. I've planned everything. Everything is falling into place. I have my university acceptance. I have housing. I have my visa. It's all going to go the way it's supposed to. And so there was a calm. And
yeah.
And then I got here and school started and the calm went away real fast. And the anxiety kicked in. Not, the anxiety, the fear of failure, the fear of, well, if I don't do this and I'm not good at this, then there's nothing I can do. I get to go back to the States with less than half of my money.
Yeah.
Not that money rules everything, but it's a fair part of it.
We still need it.
We still need it. It's a fair part of life. But then we started doing our practicums where we go out and go into high schools and as a student teacher. And, things kind of fell into place. And I pushed to get what I got. I went to a meeting that was for, the Technology Education New Zealand teachers. And I went to the meeting even though I was just a student, and met the head of faculty for the Cambridge High School Technology Department and pushed to get my second practicum at Cambridge High School. And because I had made a decent impression when she was called by the university to see if she wanted a student teacher, she said no, but then she asked who it was, and when she was told who it was, that it was me, she was like, oh yeah, send him over, we'll do that. And so, I don't think I have good luck, and I don't think anybody has good luck. I think if you think you have good luck, then you're probably making your own luck. Yeah. And, I got the second practicum I got because I pushed. And then I got the role at Cambridge High School that I got because I worked my ass off. I made good impressions. I learned a lot, and I contributed.
Yeah.
I wasn't a drain. I contributed and ended up being offered a role, a job at Cambridge High School, which was excellent. But then, as university starts to wind down, the fear starts to ramp up because I'm running out of money. And where am I going to live? And how am I going to do this? And how am I going to do that? As I try to make it to mid-February to my first paycheck. I'm like, I know I've got a job. I've got a signed contract. I know I'm going to get some income, but that's not till mid-February. Oh, wait a minute. I need a work visa. I'm on a student visa. I need a work visa to get that job. So,
yeah.
And I know I don't want to talk about visas too much because it's been talked about before, but it's still easy. It's still there. Oh shit, what am I going to do? I need, and so there's that anxiety is, are you going to get the work visa? And it did come through, but
yeah, but at the end of the day, we all know a visa is quite a price as well, like especially if you don't have money. It's not just an application you fill in a form, like you need to spend some money on it.
No,
for sure.
You definitely have to spend some money on it. And work visas, while they're not as expensive as residency, they're not cheap.
Yeah.
And in the end, when that first paycheck came around in mid-February, I was down to $200 in my bank account.
Yeah.
That's all the money I had on the planet. That's all of my wealth, because I didn't own property. I don't own property now. I'll never afford property in this country. I don't own a lot. I mean, all of my money's in camera gear these days. Far too much money in camera gear. But, I have savings, and I'm trying to build that back up.
Yeah.
And I have work that's keeping me busy, and I have my interests outside of work, my photography. But it's unfortunately money rules the world, and what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
I think it's really interesting to hear, because knowing from myself as well that I also came to New Zealand, I just saved as much as I could at that time, and I didn't have that much savings because I was generally traveling already before. Like, all my income would be in emergency saving, and then I would say for the next vacation I would save up to visit the next country to learn something new about another culture. And so I would have enough to always keep me safe, and I would have, well, coming from Germany, I would have at least 5 insurances, so that's just a thing. But I wouldn't have yeah,
Yeah, Germans, it's not like they ever plan ahead.
Yeah, we do have. And my parents would totally make me plan. Like, they wouldn't just have me not, I wouldn't have a debt or anything like that. My parents would take care of that. Like, not in giving me money all the time, but making sure that I learn how to deal with my own money. And so
of course, you've got to,
so,
as parents should, they got to teach you how to handle your life.
Yeah, and they did a good job, even though when I was younger it was painful. But I still spend it on traveling, because for me at that time that was more important. And I wasn't aware of me ever leaving the country at that time. So I had 8,000 euros at that time when I left my country, which is, I think at that time it was around $12,000. And that was all I had. That was, same as you said, all my money in the world. And so I was pretty much spending it all on my 3 months of traveling around, buying a car, having a flat, living without a job for 4 months, and making sure I would get a job, and just taking care of getting an income again. And then most of the other money went for visa applications, because in total it must have been for myself around 7,000. So I also started completely from scratch again. I didn't have massive savings or anything like that. I kind of used most of it, and now, same as you, I just build it up slowly. So I can totally relate to that.
Yeah, it's an interesting life, and we immigrants, we work hard to be where we are and to do what we do, and we sacrifice a lot to go to a different place, and maybe people don't like that, and fair enough. I had a job where I came from. Yeah. I had a life. I owned property. Life was good, and this, I didn't leave because life was bad. I mean, Alaska's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
The people in Alaska are really good people. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with me and my interior self saying, "Hey, James, you remember when you were 23 and you said you didn't want to live in the States anymore, or you didn't want to spend the rest of your life in the States? Well,
yeah, now is that time.
Now is that time. Your kids are grown adults with careers, doing their thing. You don't have that other thing anymore. So go do what it is that you really want to do. Go experience what you want to experience, what you've been wanting to do for 25 years.
Make yourself happy.
Yeah, make myself happy. And it's not that I wasn't happy raising kids. I was. It's not that I wasn't happy teaching where I was teaching in Alaska, I was.
Yeah.
But I wanted to experience other things, and so I wanted to get out and do that stuff. Some of the things that people, non-Americans say about Americans is true. And, some of the stereotypes are actually really true, and it's kind of sad. Only 65% of Americans hold a passport or have ever held a passport. And something like only 35% of Americans have ever been off of the North American continent.
Yeah. Wow.
A lot of them that have passports, it's only so they can go to Cancun, so they can have a vacation in Cancun, or so that they can go into Canada. It has nothing to do with trying to get anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
It's just those 3 countries, and it's like, no, I want more. I want to see more. I want to do more. And,
yeah.
you know.
And here you are.
And, yep, here I am.
Thank you so much, James.
You're welcome.
I have 3 quick questions at the end to kind of have questions where you don't need to think much, just whatever comes to your mind first, with 1 word or 1 sentence as an answer.
Okay.
So, which country would you have chosen if New Zealand would not have been an option?
I think I probably would have chosen Ireland.
Ireland.
Ireland, so Americans are quite enthused with their genealogy, their family past, because, most Americans, other than Native Americans, are not from there. And we like to know where we came from. And most, I'm like 96% Irish.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
So, did the red beard give it away? I would. That would, and I've not been to Ireland, so that was definitely a choice.
Very interesting. I went to Ireland once, and I loved it totally. And
I would like to get there someday, and if I can muster the courage to fly, maybe I'll get there.
Maybe at one point there will be some other good distractions.
Maybe I could. Yeah.
Beaming. I'm still waiting for beaming, to be honest.
One of these days we will be able to do the Star Trek teleport thing, and that will be cool. I don't think I'll ever see it, but yeah. That'll be cool.
That's what I would hope for.
Quantum entanglement.
All right, number 2. What do you miss the most from Alaska?
What do I miss the most from Alaska? I could go cheesy and say my kids. And that would be true, that I could say my kids. But from Alaska, what do I miss? I miss the winters. I miss the cold. I miss the snow. I miss the silence that snow brings. Because when you're out in the wilderness, because I love winter camping, even in my shorts, when you're out in the snow and it is actually snowing and it's winter time and you're out in the wilderness, it's silent. You can't hear anything.
Yeah.
You could see the limbs break off of a tree from the weight of the snow and the cold, but you can't hear it because the falling snow absorbs all of the sound. And there aren't any animals about because they're either asleep or have migrated away. And it's white, and it's pure, and it's pristine, and it's just gorgeous. And I miss the winters, the cold, the snow.
Yeah. I do have to say, I don't miss the cold, but I do miss snow. It's beautiful, and I can completely relate to everything you say about snow. It is magical somehow.
Well, I mean, the part of Alaska I'm from, which is southern Alaska, we had snow on the ground for 5 months out of the year. First snowfall would be mid-October. By Halloween, there's permanent snow on the ground, and the snow wouldn't melt until March or April. But then we would have snow on the ground come and go through beginning of May. I remember it snowing in June. Not a lot, and not to any kind of real accumulation, but June snowing. I arrived in New Zealand on January 31st. When I left Alaska, it was -20. When I arrived in New Zealand, it was 31.
Wow. And that's a difference.
Absolutely dying. Like, I went to the warehouse and bought a fan, and I laid on my bed under the fan, and I just died. It was horrible. And I was seriously questioning why I was where I was.
Therefore, your feature, the shorts, now everything makes sense.
Shorts. Gotta wear shorts.
So, last but not least, Question number 3. What do you love the most about New Zealand?
What do I love the most about New Zealand? You would think with my photography and what I just said about Alaska that it would be the beauty of New Zealand, and that is an extremely close second.
Yeah.
But the best thing about New Zealand is the acceptance from the people. Like, pretty much everybody I meet are like, oh, you're from the States. Nice to meet you. And they're nice. And they ask questions. And,
yeah.
Or I'm out somewhere with my camera and I've got on my hat that says Alaska across the top, and I've heard a couple of people as I walk by, his hat says Alaska. He's from Alaska. And I'm like, yeah, I am. Mm-hmm. And people ask me questions and they're genuinely interested, and I've yet to have anybody like tell me to go home or be mean to me or anything like that. I mean, everything that I talked about earlier with the OECD statistics, it's all true. And New Zealand is a beautiful country, and it has some to do with the landscape, but it has a lot to do with the people. And that's probably my favorite part is I've met some really awesome people here in this country. And I'm very happy with my decision that I've made to come here.
Yeah.
I know you said one word, but
that's fine. I really love that answer. Thank you very much for being my guest today, James. It was an honor.
Thanks for having me. I
really loved it. And I hope everyone out there enjoyed it as well. And see you hopefully next time. And thank you so much for listening. Bye-bye.